Welcome to Conversations with Toy, a blogcast tackling life one episode at a time. This is the time to air out life's craziest moments. This space is all about speaking about life's hang-ups and ways in which we can leave better than when we started. Topics are all about ways we can find space to be better in life, love, mental space, and health.
Happy Friday. I hope that you are having the most amazing Friday, or that you will have the most amazing Friday, depending on when you have listened to this episode. This is episode 20 of season 5. We always try to get to 20 episodes per season. We will take a 2-week break where I will regather all of my items and things and get all the guest hosts ready for season 6. So this is season 5. I know it seems like it's going super fast. This is the last episode of season 5. And today we are going to be talking about money, your finances, your coin, where you spend, how do you get the money that you need so you can spend, all of those things. So we will be having a discussion with a guest today regarding money. But I wanted to just say, again, as we talk about the Happy Friday vibes, and we're starting off our weekend, and we're trying to get all the things together, can y'all go ahead and get some rest? Go ahead and take you a rest, because rest is crucial. We were spring forward, and a lot of people on my timeline were struggling with sleep. How do I get my rest? How do I get my sleep? It's been a struggle for a lot of people. This is also Sleep Awareness Week. And with a Sleep Awareness Week, how are you actually getting your rest? I wrote a blog about nighttime routines. We've covered morning routines, and it's literally vital for you to decide how you want to show up for yourself for the next day. And how you do that is how you go down. How do you go to sleep? Where do you put your interests at? Do you have a nighttime routine? Do you write in your journal at night? Do you listen to certain music and shut yourself down? Like, how do you start your nighttime routine? For me, I like to have in my house a quiet hour or a quiet time. I try to give the kids at least 1 hour, 30 minutes to an hour of just quiet time. They could play with something quietly. They can read a book, things of that sort. So they have that moment to calm down. And then they just continue to proceed after that and, doing the brushing of their teeth and getting themselves into bed. I listen to certain podcasts before I go to sleep. And I discovered, as I was preparing for the spring forward, I discovered that there are look on some of your favorite players. There are like nap meditations and nap playlists. So I purposely set a nap playlist, and set my alarm for 2 hours last Saturday so that when the spring forward came, it would adjust my body. And I'm going to tell you, I am not one of those ones that are struggling with this fast forward. Listen, I would have loved for people to be like, oh, you're struggling, but I'm not. I'm honestly not. And it's because I took that nap. I went on ahead and I took that nap and got what I needed to get. So go ahead and start putting naps. Like, you got to put naps like in your spirit, getting your naps going and making sure that you're doing what you need to do, because naps are essential. And also naps are a form of self-care. Another thing that I want to talk about as we end this season is weaponizing mental health care. For instance, I had someone this week use a post that I posted about self-care, or about me having, this mental health issue over the weekend, and they come and go. Like, we all have our ups and we have our downs, we have our ebbs and we have our flows. And before you ask, it was not my husband. My husband and I have had a very good conversation since the first time that happened. This was when I first started to notice me unraveling at postpartum depression. So we don't have to have that discussion anymore. But it wasn't my husband. But we had to stop weaponizing people with mental health care, meaning just because you know that someone that you love or is close to you, or is a friend or a comrade or whomever you would like to put the title to, you know that they may have mental health issues, it is not your place. It's actually quite inappropriate to, say, oh, I saw you must have been having a mental health. Like, you cannot weaponize people's mental health against them, because for me, I'm strong enough to deal with it. For someone else, they may not be able to, and it can make them shelter in more, meaning then they don't end up having a place where they can feel safe to post. Now, I am a blogger as well as a podcaster, and I have zero, and I mean zero, problems talking about myself. And what I mean by talking about myself, not in a vain way, but sharing my experiences of things that I have gone through with my own personal mental health, with my own personal family, or something that I've gone through and I've, come on the other side of. I don't have a problem sharing that. But even as a person like myself who doesn't have a problem with sharing, I also still don't want someone weaponizing that against me. So if you have family or friends that you are aware that they may have an up or down, you don't get to say to them or use that against them, like, oh, you weren't acting like you needed to because of this, or you didn't do for me what I thought you needed to do because maybe you were having a problem. That is not your call. If they share something with you, that's, fine. And even still, don't use it against them. Like, you're either going to be understanding or you're not, but don't be inappropriate. With self-care, I feel like a lot of people are trying to like get over the whole self-care movement as if it's not valid, because they feel like people are romanticizing self-care. I'm going to tell people to continue. If that is what you call romanticizing self-care, go ahead and do it. I have noticed that there's been an increase of people showing that part of them, that they're getting their self-care, that they're taking care of themselves. I don't personally see anything wrong with that. If anything, I feel like it's like a fire that will catch, and other people will gravitate towards that and want to do more of taking care of themselves, or want to do more of making sure that they're at their best priority. I want more people to do that. And that is the whole point. Especially if you follow the blog, or if you're on my social media, which I'm on there as Toy Time Blog, you'll notice that I always, maybe 2 to 3 times a week, I show different levels or different things that you can do for self-care. They're so simple, like buying yourself some bouquet of flowers. I may go to something here in Philadelphia that's about self-care, like when I went to the wellness refinery. Or maybe I am at the spa. Maybe I am at a facial. Maybe I'm just encouraging people to sleep. Maybe I'm encouraging you to take some time to journal. Even 10 minutes of journal writing to yourself, you release whatever negative feelings that you have. You have a couple of moments just to breathe. I feel like we need to see more of that. And the more of that we see, it encourages other people who are struggling to tap in for their own health to do so. I've had many people that will say to me, oh, I'm so grateful that you posted that. Thank you for doing that. It made me feel like I could say the same thing. There are people who are literally by themselves, either by choice or however life has given them, and they are struggling because when you're by yourself, you don't feel like you can get up and do activities that require friendships, or do activities that require partners, or do activities that just requires another person to be present. I like to showcase those few things that you can do for yourself, because although I have a partner, although I have a family, there are times when my partner and my family don't even agree with the things that I want to do. And there was a time when I used to be so gravitated for someone to go with me that I just missed out on so many different opportunities because I needed to have someone there. And I'm not alone. There's a lot of people who deal with that, again, either by choice or just having that feeling of, I want someone to go do whatever it is they go do with me. I think that showcasing people living life, traveling, getting out, doing something that they're uncomfortable with. As much as I showcase a lot of things about Philadelphia, I always will take the time to say, did you see that picture, or did you see that video? And these are the things that were happening behind the scenes, because that's where real life is. That's where real people are. And they can resonate with that, because you and I, and I'm saying you and I, because we all deal with some level of anxiety, some level of, these ups and downs, these triggers that we may experience. So if you ever following me, I'm going to be the champion for self-care. I'm going to be the champion for wellness. I'm going to be the champion of that, because we need more people speaking clearly and openly about that. So that's always been my mission. It's going to continue to be my mission, and also to encourage other people. For today's guest, we have Sarry Ibrahim. He is a financial planner and the member of the Bank On Yourself organization. He helps real estate investors, business owners, and full-time employees grow safe and predictable wealth regardless of market conditions, using a financial strategy that has been around for over 160 years. Sarry started this journey when he was in grad school, completing his MBA. He worked for companies like Allstate, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Cigna, HealthSpring, and Humana before founding Financial Asset Protection, which is a financial services firm that focuses on one sole concept, the bank on yourself concept, also known as the infinite banking concept. So he is going to come. We're going to chop it up about finances. You know, a lot of people believe that in order to have a financial advisor, they have to make a certain amount of money. I'm going to tell you that even I had my first financial advisor when I was a broke college student, trying to get my finances on track, trying to figure out where I was. And that was extremely helpful because I wasn't making a lot of money, even after I graduated from college. And it was helpful for me to understand like investments and where I needed to put money to make a future. And then again, when I had my daughter, my oldest, I met with a financial advisor again, because of course, when you have a child, you want to make sure that you're protecting your money and making, the best decisions for your money so that you can protect their future and your future as well. And so having a financial advisor, again, I understand that some people believe that they have to have a certain amount of money in order to make some sort of investment, even having a financial planner or a financial advisor. But I would stress that everyone that is listening to this podcast, if you can go ahead and get you a financial advisor, find one that you trust, find one that is accredited, find one that is helping you for the goals that you set, right? The ones that you set, the one you know that you need to do, and the ones that they're guiding you to. And there's a couple of the red flags that we're going to talk about when we're talking about how do you even find a financial advisor? What are the things that you look for? What are the questions that you might have? So if you're about getting your money together, listen, I want you to go ahead and follow him. I want you to, sign up for his services and see if that's a good fit, right? See if that's a good fit, not pushing yourself to make it a good fit, but to see if that's a good fit. And with any other financial advisor, always do your research, do your homework, make sure that you know who you're dealing with. Because that's important as well. So let's welcome Sarry as we continue to have this episode. And thank you for rocking out for season 5. This is episode 20. Well, happy Friday to Conversations with Toy Family. I hope that your week has been amazing. But in our podcast, we have a lot of conversations. Some conversations are joyful, some conversations are serious, and some conversations usually in between. But whatever the conversation that we have, we want to make sure that we're giving you information that you can use. Well, today is one of those podcasts where if you need help, and we all need help, let's just put our hands up wherever we may are. We all know that we need help with our finances. Finances are one of those things that we cannot cut corners on. No matter how much you make or how little you make, the way that we use our money will make sure that we're set up for our future. So again, if you are trying to get your money right, 2022, we start all these goals in the beginning of January, and somewhere around February, we start to fall off, but we're picking you back up from March and making sure that you get it all together. Because listen, having financial power will make your life that much easier. And again, it's all about making sure you're doing the right things with your money. And I'm not the financial guru. I did not study it. Me and numbers, we don't always get along. However, I always want to see my money go up and go up in the right areas with investments or retirements, just different ways in which we can secure our future. But since I'm not, and we all know, I am not the financial guru. I brought someone here that knows their stuff way better than me, because I'm going to have you spending your money at the Target and the Starbucks, and we want to make sure we balance that so you can have more money for later on. But today we have Sarry Ibrahim. He is here. He is going to let you know about finances, because it's not my repertoire. So Sarry, thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, Toy. Thank you so much for having me on. It's an honor to be here.
Awesome. So we've heard your wonderful bio. Tell me, if you could, if there were 3 things that you could summarize, what are the 3 major issues that people have when it comes to finances and money? Just 3. Okay. I'm sure you have more.
Yeah, so 3. Let me think for a second. Just dealing back with clients. Okay, so number 1, not knowing your numbers. So that's one problem I see is people don't know like exactly how much they make, how much they have, how much they spend, how much debt they owe. So that's one problem. The second is people's goals are not specific enough or unique enough. So what that means is that, especially with like new entrepreneurs, they'll just say like, I just want a lot of money, like as soon as possible.
Right.
Um,
That's
so
because they
that
haven't had it for so long. They just want to grab at it.
exactly, yeah. And when your goal is just kind of like vague like that, you're probably not going to get it, right? So like it has to be like very specific and like finite and like reachable. So that's one problem I see. And then the third problem, comparing themselves to other people. So like when you go into like, why is it that you want to be wealthy, or why do you want to be, why do you want to make $1 million a year, or whatever the case is? It's like, well, like, duh, that's the thing to do. Like you make a lot of money and that's it. And I think that's not like concrete enough. Like it has to be like specific to you and legitimate to you, where there's no right or wrong answer. But I guess like compare themselves to other people is like a major financial problem.
I can understand that because sometimes we'll, especially like even with my field being like a blogger and an influencer, you'll see somebody else talking about, oh, I made 6-figure deal, or I did this
Yeah.
deal, or I did that. And so in your mind, you're just trying to obtain what someone else's numbers are, but not necessarily what the numbers you are. For me, my situation is different because I have a family. There may be different numberings that have to go along with that, where someone else who is single and is doing what they're doing, their numbers may not be the same as mine, but people don't think about that.
Exactly. I think the only person you want to compete with is yourself. Like get better at, your previous life and your previous things, and like not beat yourself down, but like compete with yourself only. I think that when you start comparing yourself to other people and compete with other people, you don't know. If I just wrote a blog right now and said that, like you said, I publicly announced that I just landed $1 million deal, you don't, that's all I'm saying. There's more to it. You know what I mean? What if, and there's a lot of deception out there, right? What if I landed $1 million deal, by just because it's $1 million doesn't mean that I'm making $1 million from that. So there's a lot more to it. What if I outsourced that entire $1 million deal to somebody else and I just connected them and I made $10 from that? You don't know that. Nobody
Right.
else. You know what I
Or
mean? So
the
like
fact
that's
that you may have
yeah,
a team that now you got that $10 million. Now that team has to be paid too for their contributions for whatever it is that they're working with, whatever project. A lot of people don't realize that as well. So if you hire a
yeah,
photographer,
yeah,
there's a payment. If you hire a videographer, there's
yeah.
payment there. If you have somebody that's helping with like captions, and like there are things that people pay out all the time, but we don't see that. We just see the end result.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And and it kind of takes away your focus, right? It's kind of almost demotivating when somebody else is motivated, and that shouldn't happen, right? It should be like, oh, congratulations, good job, keep up the good work, but you're still on track for your job. And even if you're not reaching your goals right now, it doesn't mean that you can, or somebody else is beating you. There's a lot more that goes into it. So that's definitely a huge problem I see. And I guess the way around that is to have like systems in place that keep you focused on your career and your job and your business. That's what I do every day. I have something called a priority recap, and I recap all the top things I need to focus on, like my business. I'm doing this. I'm practicing for not practicing, but enrolled in the Certified Financial Planner program. I'm finishing the second course of 7 courses, so I write that in there, like my CFP program. I'm writing in, like other things I need to work on, top things. So that way, when I'm not going to really lose my focus by something else that happens, something especially like on LinkedIn or like seeing on YouTube, because it's very easy to lose focus of what you're doing.
Now, what made you step into this arena where it comes to finances? Because listen, I've already said in the introduction that I am not the type of person, don't come to me. I cannot help you. I can give you the people who can, but I am not the person to come to when it comes to finances. I have somebody else that I outsource for that as well. But how did you yourself get into this field where you wanted to help other people achieve their financial goals?
Absolutely. Yeah. So it kind of started when I was like a senior in high school. I really liked the class consumer economics. It was literally like how to write a check. What is a credit card? What is interest? What is a mortgage? I kind of really enjoyed that. It was like the most interesting class I've ever taken. We had to take it, right? We had to learn. I feel like, we should learn more about that. At a
Mhm.
young age, we should learn more about money and finances. But I like the idea of it, and not just so much of just because it was money, but so much of like the impact it has on people's lives. Like it's serious, right? When you're not making enough money and you have debt and things like that, it has a toll on people. So I wanted to go further into that area, into that world of helping people solve financial problems, but I didn't really know what it was called, right? I didn't know if it was financial planner or financial consultant. So I got my MBA, and I figured, getting an MBA would give me as close as possible to learning about money as much as possible. it's just a small percentage of it, right? Like
Right.
maybe of everything I know about money, 10% of it came from my MBA, 90% came from real world experience dealing with my own financial issues as well as other people's financial issues. So I was always attracted to helping people solve financial problems as well as for myself. I got really involved into credit at a young age, understanding how credit works and pretty much different financial arenas. So that's kind of just being curious is what got me into this and wanted to solve those problems for people.
So what has been, so you want to help people, they're coming to you, you have a service, you're able to provide them so they can
Mhm.
get it to, get their finances together. But what has been some of the biggest hesitations when you meet with someone, maybe the first time that they may have even for the first time in their life have put their money to, situations on piece of paper or have really taken the time to look at their money? Because that first time, I remember the first time I looked at my finances and I was like, oh, good gracious. And this was like a couple of years ago when I dealt with my first financial planner back after I got graduated from college. And I was like, oh, I am like way off base, way off base of what it is that I thought I wanted to do, especially where my money goes were. So what has been some of your hesitations that people have maybe shown or talked about or you've seen when it comes to getting that first initial help?
Yeah, a lot of people don't know. Like for example, we'll go through an entire solution and they say like the whole time, like, this is exactly what I need, and then they don't end up. Sometimes this happens. They don't end up doing it because they just don't really believe that it's gonna help them. You know what I mean? And that's kind of a problem. Like not for me so much, but not for them either. But there's this gap right between believing in yourself and then believing a concept if it works. I think that of like the way we live financially or in general, the way we live, 20% of it has to do with technical things, hard things, like things that we could actually see and know about, like the amount of money we have, the amount of money we make, our credit, things like that, 20%. And then 80% of it is the way you believe about yourself. Like
Right.
that has a huge factor into your success is the way 80% of it is the way you believe in yourself or how you believe in you. So I guess to get to the point of it is like, um, just understanding a concept is completely different than implementing a concept. And I hope
Right.
that makes sense. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
like that's kind of a big gap I see. There's also another thing too, is like when you come up with a business idea, a lot of entrepreneurs do is they come up with a business idea, right? And in their head, it's like the greatest idea ever. It's like, a multi-billion dollar, it's the next Facebook, it's the next Google.
Mhm.
But when you actually express it and you outline it, it's like, oh, as you're expressing it, you're like, oh, you know what? It's not actually that good of idea. And that's good. That's fine. You want to do that. You want to think of the idea, express it. If it's not worth it, if it's not ideal, then move on to the next thing. So I see that as, in other words, a big gap between what people think they want to do and then what they actually do.
That actually makes sense because I mean, even across the way, even not even dealing with finances, but across the way, the principle of people believing in themselves or believing in the ability to do whatever it is that they set. There are goals that are being set even outside of finances that people struggle with that as well. If they want to get better health, health wise, there are steps that they have to take. It is one concept of going to the doctor, getting your numbers,
Uh-huh.
going and getting the blood drawn, exactly where you are. And then the concept of when it comes from concept to practicality, how people then are able to move to the next level.
Mhm.
What are, if you could give me three, we're going to do, I guess three is just our number today, but what would be three things that people who have never, ever, 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 ever met with a financial planner, what should they be expecting when they sit down with you or anyone else?
Yeah, good question. So I want to, if it's okay with you, I'll answer it a different
Mhm.
way. I'll answer is what you should look out for. So like number one, you want to make sure that you're working with somebody that's going to be independent and unbiased. What that means is like they have like their job is literally just to identify what you want to do and then make sure that they're asking you open-ended questions, not just saying like, oh yeah, so you want to earn X amount percentage, right? Like that's not an open-ended question.
Right.
Rather, what is that you want to accomplish? What are some of your goals? So make sure they're really focused on. So I guess number one is they're independent. They have no say in a certain, or they have no bias towards one concept or product. They're
Okay.
independent. Number two, they are open-ended. They ask open-ended questions and they are interested in what you want to do. And then number three, if needed, they have access to other people who have different skills other than what they know. Like in other words, they have the opportunity or to refer you to other people if needed. they're not gonna, it's either you work with them or nothing at all, or even worse, they try to do everything for you because nobody's going to be an expert in one space. It's like when you deal with an attorney, you might have an attorney who's a specialist in like corporate related things. But if it's like other things, like for example, debt or other places, other areas like real estate, you might want to go to a different attorney, and that attorney could actually refer you to that. So you want to work with somebody who has a kind of a network, a team of people. But really, and you asked, and the reason why I kind of changed that answer was because you asked, what could somebody, what could they experience working with an advisor? And there's so many ways that advisors work. It's very difficult to just lay it out and say, this is exactly what you're going to find out. You're going to say step 1, step 2, step 3. There's so many different ways that financial advisors work. Some of them work more on the banking side. Some of them work more strictly financial advisory. Some of them are more from the insurance background. Some of them come from accounting background. So there's really, it can kind of go in multiple directions.
Has any of your clients ever expressed like some red flags of things that they may have dealt with other financial advisors, that they're already coming in with a prejudice with you? Not necessarily a prejudice against you, but sometimes, like I experienced a financial advisor, which gave one of your examples where they wanted me to work with them and no one else. They would not refer me for other things, and I was having other issues that needed to be addressed. So if I came to you, I would say to you, hey, the last person I worked with gave me a really hard time because they came, they wanted me to do work with them. Have you ever had a client that expressed some red flags with dealing with other people?
Yeah, definitely. One red flag I've seen before is like from the initial call that somebody has with somebody, they make a recommendation. And that's kind of problematic because think about it this way. Like imagine you go to your doctor's office, right? You walk in, hey doctor, and then the doctor's like, here's a prescription right here. And you're like, I didn't even tell you what was wrong. And the doctor's like, trust me, this is going to be good for you. Like the doctor said, no, you didn't even express anything yet. And
Right.
Financial service is a lot like that. Like you meet with somebody and they shake your hand or you read on the phone and they're like, all right, this is what you want to do. You want to put $10,000 a year into this mutual fund, whatever, you know what I mean? It's like, and I've seen that happen, So they come to me and they're like, listen, I don't want to invest in anything. I want to just know more about this situation concept. And I'm like, and then vice versa. I'm like, I can't just give you the recommendation or the answers to that concept because I don't know your financial situation. I need to ask you the questions and then come up with the financial recommendation, based off of what I think is a good fit for you. And I think that that's how that's the appropriate, in my opinion, that's the appropriate way. It doesn't make sense for you. Like, imagine if you called an accountant and you're like, hey, accountant, should I open an S Corp or C Corp LLC? Go. The accountant can't just answer, all right, do C Corp or do LLC. They need to know more about your situation. They need to know what state you're in, what kind of company you own, how many employees do you have, what do you do for work, what kind of business is it? They need to know more of those things to provide the recommendation. So that was just kind of some of the red flags I've seen is recommendation before the analysis is even done.
That actually makes sense. Oh, wow, that is crazy that people actually still do that. But yeah, that was my experience. Again, I was, fresh out of college, and they were just like, this is what you want to do. And also, too, I had another issue where I spoke to a financial advisor, but they were attached to like maybe a church. And then it was just like, either you're doing it this way, you're doing this with me, or you're just going to be in ruins, when that's not necessarily the case, because it could be me being comfortable with the person that I'm working with. It could be a lot of different other factors that matter, but they were just definitely on team push of get done and move on.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's kind of scary when people operate like that. Like, it's either you do it this way or, don't, we're not working together at all. Really kind of test out people. Like I would call like, a couple different advisors and then kind of ask them questions like, oh yeah, so do you think, I should do this solution, and then see what they say. If they just say, oh no, stay away. If they give you a one-sided answer, like never do this or always do that, that's a red flag, right? Because how do they know? Like there is no such thing in financial services or in a professional setting where it's always going to be one way and never a certain way. That I don't believe that exists. Like, there is no legal solution that's going to be applicable in every single situation, nor is there an accounting principle or a real estate principle or a lending situation where it's going to be applicable in every single situation. And I think it's true with financial planning, is like there is no solution that's always 100% of the time you want to do it this way.
Now, have you heard the concept? And it's not, I don't even know if you want to use the word concept, but there were a lot of financial advisors, like right before the pandemic and definitely like in between, that were like, I had one financial advisor that I saw something that they put online. And so they were doing things like hey, don't get that Starbucks. You need to never get a Starbucks. Just put your money to the side. Now, again, the reason why they were saying that, it was just using an example of overspending in one area to save in another area.
Yes.
But their example was, again, the Starbucks, because that's a company that we all recognize, a lot of us use. So then there were other people that were like, get the Starbucks. You should be able to learn how to manage so you can have the Starbucks and do all this other stuff, So how do you feel about when you see people posting things, whether they're, some people I feel like they're in the financial world, and then some people I feel like they post things because they just happen to run up to see it.
Yeah, so I've heard of that too. I've heard of like, don't, go to Starbucks, don't buy things, always just save for the future. And again, that's a one-sided solution. That's putting everybody in an always category, or everybody needs to be in this category. It's very difficult to do that because people have different situations, different needs, different wants, different times, different ages. There's so many differences that people have that require different things. And I think that one reason why a financial advisor would say like, don't limit all your money and then put it all in the stock market is, I think it's kind of a common sense thing. And it's because the more you invest with them, the more they get paid. So that's kind of the incentive. And again, I don't want this to be an episode on just bashing other advisors. There's a lot of wonderful people out there doing wonderful things. I'm just kind of sharing some of the things to look out for. Is that like, if you convince somebody to do one thing only, it probably means that you want to, the more they invest, the more you get paid in the long run. So that's kind of your job, is to do it. I don't think that saving $3 here and $4 here really is going to make you that rich over time. I think that to a certain extent, yes, decreasing certain habits or certain things will probably increase your wealth. A lot of wealth has to do with behavioral things. The way you behave has a lot to do with your wealth. This is how you hear about stories about people who are like, blue collar employees who, when they retire, they have like millions of dollars because they've saved their life. And then vice versa, you hear about people who like went to Harvard, who got like really high paying jobs, like corporate jobs, who are like bankrupt, because they spend so much money. They have a lot of like bad habits. They do things, a lot of extravagant things. So like, really, it's not about, for the most part, about the money you make or the money, how much money you have access to initially. Mm-hmm. It's more about your behavioral things to a certain extent, to a certain point, I think. So yeah, just saving, a couple dollars here, Starbucks, I don't really think is going to make you rich, to be transparent.
Good. Oh, that's good to know. So one of my other questions that I have is, there's a lot of copy and paste financial advisors.
Yeah.
I won't call anyone out by names, but there's one in particular that I'm looking at right now on my phone. And this person is more like a lifestyle person. So she would be someone that would be like me, who talks about lifestyle in different aspects. And then all of a sudden, literally overnight, she jumps into the financial realm. So now she's having classes where she's teaching people how to trade and how to do all this other stuff. No financial backing, no financial, none of the work that you might, or a lot of advisors have done and have led longevity in the field. And again, a lot of people will gravitate towards her because she's a quote unquote influencer. So of course she's influencing people to do something. How do you really feel about a lot of these? I call them popcorn financial officers. They just popping up all over the place, all over the web. And this particular one that I'm thinking about, she actually has stolen like the words of and the work of other financial advisors, and all she's doing is changing the color and making it really pretty and presenting it a different way, but it's literally other people's information that they've either gone to school, learned, or been in the field long enough to obtain. How do you feel about that?
Oh yeah, so okay, so where do I start? All right, so think about the influence perspective, right? So like, let's say, for example, I'm on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, whatever, and I have like 1 million followers, let's just say. There's a lot I could do with that, right? That's an asset that I own, the following itself, the people who are following you. So I could monetize that, right? I could sell shoes on there and get paid off that. And then I could sell, travel tickets for a vacation, get paid off of that. And then I could also, sell financial courses and get paid off of that. So think about it from that perspective, right? It's an opportunity for them to make more money with the same, they could recycle that client base that they have.
Right.
That's from their perspective. Now, from your perspective, the client, the customer, the person buying the course, I think that when you want to hire somebody, essentially, you want to make sure that they have the credentials and they have the experience that we're working with. So if you've seen them on social media promoting makeup or shoes or whatever the case is, and then you see them promoting a financial course, that should be a red flag right there. It's like McDonald's isn't gonna just start selling gourmet salads. It's not what they do, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's outside of their specialty. It's outside of their focus, and I think that's a important thing. Now, having said that, I wouldn't just completely discredit the influencer. What if the influencer is selling somebody else's course, or somebody who is actually financially competent, knows what they're talking about, but they're using the influencer's channel for marketing purposes? I'm all for that. I think that's
Yeah,
a
I'm
good
all for
idea.
that as well. But this
Yeah,
particular one that
yeah.
I'm thinking about and looking at, she is the one saying this is her course. This is something she's curated,
Mhm.
and and now she is a financial guru. And it just sets off red flags for me. And I feel
Yeah,
like, and this is the reason why I'm bringing it up for someone who's listening, you're listening or you may be seeing something like that. And just like you're saying, like, do your homework. I think a lot of people just forget the process of doing their homework.
exactly. Yes. Yeah. That's such a good point. Is that like you have your duties and then other professionals have their duties. Like you go to the dentist, right? The dentist isn't going to brush your teeth for you. You have to, there are things you need to do for your teeth that the dentist can't do for you. And the same
Right.
is true like financial planning. There are certain tasks you have to do for yourself that a financial professional isn't going to do everything for you. So yeah. So yeah, like I love how you mentioned that, like do your homework. And I always have like this these layers of things before making steps. Like I have like almost like rules for initiating certain things. If it's buying a course, let's just say the course is like less than $500, maybe that could be something you do kind of with very little thought. It's not that for a lot of people it's not a big investment. And if you can learn 2 or 3 things financially, that you might be able to get your money back in a few months from that, because of the habits you've changed, or the knowledge you've gained and making or saving more money. So yeah. But now if it's hiring a professional and it's going to cost you more than like $500, then I would add some steps in there. Like, number one, who is a person? Number two, what have they accomplished? Number three, how much is the program going to cost now, recurring? Number four, what do you expect to get out of it? Number five, like I would do these steps
Mhm.
to make sure that you're identifying, you're properly screening this, and you have to write it out. I would write it out because you want to add those additional steps in between you and then implementing something to make sure that it's going to actually work. We don't know what the future is, right? We don't know what's going to happen after you do something, but there are certain things you can apply in the meantime that will help determine if something is going to be a good idea or not. This is like part of the reasons why we named our show Thinking Like a Bank. Is that if you go to a bank, right, and you want to borrow from the bank, like you want to get a loan from them, they don't just say, okay, here's a loan. They make you fill out an application. They evaluate the application. There's an underwriting team. The underwriting team then brings it over to their supervisor. Like there's a lot of steps in play to make sure that the bank is going to make a good financial decision. And then the more steps you have in between everybody, the less likely you are to have bad loans, deceptive loans, fraud, things like that. Like less problems happen, less risk happens when you have proper processes and systems. In my opinion, that's the point of having systems in place, is that there's less like problems to have. It's less problematic that way. And it's true on an individual level. Like when you're properly screening people and you write things down, it gives you more of a chance to learn more about that person and learn more about yourself, and to see like, could this potentially be a good thing or not.
Awesome. And I'm so grateful for all the information that you've given. Can you just tell everyone who's listening, like, what are the things that if someone is listening to you right now and they want to properly say, okay, I want to see what he's about. I want to know what's going
Sure.
on. And maybe I want to look at your services. What are some of the things that you can provide, just a few of your services that you provide. So someone listening, we're going to put them in the show notes.
Yep.
Everyone is listening. We'll have all of everything, listed and clickable. But what are some of the things some of your services that you provide?
Yeah. So if you are looking to like get out of debt, like manage debt properly, we can help you with that. If you're looking to save for retirement, I can help you with that. Looking to transition from being a full-time employee to being self-employed and you need some financial help with that, we could do that as well. We really kind of take like an unbiased approach. So there is no, like, we have no idea what to help you with until you reach out to us and then tell us kind of what you want to accomplish. So if it's more of getting out of debt, or if it's you have extra money and you're looking for different ways to grow it and deploy it, we can also help with that. To learn more about like us, like if you want to learn more about us, you can go to our show Thinking Like a Bank, our podcast, thinkinglikeabank.com. And then there's also a book we wrote called Thinking Like a Bank. You could download that book for free just from the website and then learn more about some of the concepts we help our clients with. I think like one thing for you to note is that if we can't help you, we'll refer you to the right people who can help you. And we also do like 6-month reviews to make sure that we're on track. It's not just buy this product and then you're all set. It's we only win if you win first. So that's those are the relationships we're looking for. We also don't work with everybody, right? You have to have an open mind, be willing to and have a growth mindset and be willing to kind of adapt and kind of stretch further, not just kind of have your set views. If it's not a good fit, we'll let you know that there's potentially other people that you probably work with. But yeah, if you have a growth mindset and open mindset, we'd love to work with you.
Awesome. And lastly, what are some of the things that you do? We always end our shows with making sure that we talk about self-care and mental health. What are some of the ways by which you take care of your own mental health? There's a lot of things. I'm sure you have a lot on your plate with a lot of clients. How do you take care of you?
Yeah, I absolutely have to. It's one of my priorities. I have to figure out ways of taking care of my mental health. The gym, working out for sure is at the top of there. And then kind of having like breaks, right? Like intentional breaks, not overworking yourself. It can get very easy as an entrepreneur to overwork yourself. So I kind of have like intentional breaks like throughout the day where I'm just going to like block out 15 minutes, go for a walk, like just not do anything during that 15-minute period. And then also being in the moment, being present. Like my wife and I, we just had a son. So like I have to like practice now, like, all right, after like, for example, like 6 p.m., like nothing else. Don't even check your emails. Don't even like, I leave my phone upstairs, away from us. So that way you're not constantly on that treadmill of like work, and being present. Being present, I think, is very important. It's very hard for nowadays to be present in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So like I've been working on being better at that.
I'm working on that as well. That's something we all need help with. So thank you so much for being on our show. I'm just so grateful for you taking the time out to really talk with us. And again, anyone that's listening, we will make sure, as always, that we have all of the information in the show notes so that you can get yourself better in position, so that whatever your financial goals are, you literally can take that time to get in alignment either with Sarry, or you can find someone on his team or someone outside of his team that can help you to accomplish those goals. I mean, in 2022, just like every year, we want to find ways to live better, to think better, and to do better. And part of that comes in with our finances and our behavior around finances, because that's usually, like you said, that's the issue. If you've never been accountable for your money and you're not really sure how to do that, this, changing some of the way that you think about money and seeing money in a positive light sometimes too is also a help as well. Because some people see money as negative and, if I have more of it, I'm going to have more problems. And you will to a certain extent, but changing the behaviors of how you think about money and your relationship with money also helps as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for having me on.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. So what did you think? I hope that you learned something. I hope something resonated. We will have everything in the link in bios. Not the link in bios, but for everything for you to click on when you click on the show notes, because again, we want you to be informed. We want you to have the best that you can possibly have. And we want you to have the money that you're supposed to have so that you can live the lifestyle that you choose to live. And again, I can't stress enough. It doesn't matter the money that you have. You can be in a position to have someone look over your finances and tell you exactly what you need to be doing to become a little bit better. I hope you have an amazing weekend. I will see you in 2 weeks. I will also, in the meantime, be posting some of my favorite episodes. I think there's like 80 something episodes, or a little over 80. We've been rocking. So because of that, I'm going to share a few of my favorite episodes in these next 2 weeks, but I just wish you well. I may pop in for a bonus, episode here and there in these little 2 weeks. But in these 2 weeks, I'm going to be getting some new guests. I'm going to be interviewing them, getting them all together so we can bring you the best content. Again, take care of yourself. Take care of your mental health. Take care of you as you take care of other people. You cannot take care of other people while you're struggling to take care of you. Take care of you. You are just as important, just as valuable. Hope you have an amazing day, and we will see you soon here at Conversations with Toy. Make sure that you share this episode. Make sure that you review any of the episodes, and make sure that you just be amazing, because that's the person that you are. Have an amazing, amazing, amazing weekend. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you as always for joining me, and I know that even in the deepest or joyful conversations, that there's something we can learn and apply. Until next time, I hope that you are doing better. If not, we will be back to talk some more and handle it. Peace to you and yours. Stay grounded.